Good evening. You're watching Super 6 here on India Today. I'm Akshita and Nadagopal. Over the next 60 minutes, we break down for you the biggest stories of the day, decode and simplify them the manner that we usually do this 1 hour. Let me first line up for you what we've got in store over the next 60 minutes here on Super 6. Story number one, our top story on Super 6 is the Waqf hearing that took place in the Supreme Court. What does the top court's interim order actually mean? What is the impact it will have on the Waqf reform? As always, we break down all of those details bit by bit for you to explain what is the impact of the interim order by the Supreme Court. Is it a setback for the central government or not really? We'll explain all of that for you in just a few moments. Story number two on Super 6. All of the speculation on the AIADMK-BJP alliance. Some channels got it completely wrong, telling you that the alliance has been called off, it's a U-turn by AIADMK and whatnot. Not true at all. We get you all the facts on what are the terms and conditions for this alliance and how AIADMK seems to be saying that yes, alliance is there, not so much a coalition government if they win in 2026. We'll explain that for you. Also on the show, an absolutely shocking story from Uttar Pradesh's Meerut, where a man murdered by his wife, which was passed off as a snake bite after she planted a snake next to his body. How did the officials find out? We'll break down for you the details of the investigation. Story number 4 on Super 6, an extremely interesting one, the prospect of life beyond planet Earth, of aliens. Scientists have discovered gases around the planet that suggests it's got microbial life. So it's got all the ET enthusiasts, the extraterrestrial enthusiasts pumped. We'll explain what exactly scientists have found. All right, let's begin our show with what happened in the Supreme Court. The Waqf case came up today in the top court. The CGI-led bench passed an interim order. If you're confused by what this order means, how does it alter the Waqf Act provisions, I've got you covered. Let me begin by breaking down for you the top 5 takeaways of the Supreme Court order today. The first most important one is that in the Supreme Court's interim order, they've said no change to existing Waqf assets. What does this exactly mean? It means that no asset, even if disputed, can be cancelled right now. So there's a stay on that. Effectively, what this means is whatever changes have been brought into the Waqf Act with the reform that the Modi government brought in, a pause has been hit on any of that coming into effect per se. No change to registered Waqf assets. Now, no action can be taken. There can also be no check, no scrutiny of registered properties till the next hearing. Remember that part of the Waqf Act also talks about checking right now all of the Waqf properties with the collector directly being involved. Clearly, the Supreme Court in its interim order has a no change to registered Waqf assets. But also, mind you, the previous point that I said, whatever status of the Waqf property, there can be no change whatsoever. Now, let's take you through also the next takeaway. There'll be no new appointment made to the Waqf boards for the time being till the next hearing of the Supreme Court. So this isn't something that goes on for months together. It's just a matter of a few weeks. So what that will translate to is the government's reform in the Waqf boards, which spoke about bringing in non-Muslims as well. That can't happen for the time being because currently, as the Waqf board stands, there are only Muslims. And there are no changes, means essentially no non-Muslims can be brought in. So that change, again, pause hit by the Supreme Court. Now, takeaway number 4. No stay on the Waqf law. This is something that the centre will consider to be a win because there were multiple petitions that said stay this law, ensure it doesn't come into effect till there's some clarity really on what the Supreme Court thinks. In its interim order, the top court has said there's no question of staying this law. All changes made to the Waqf Act with, in fact, the provisions that were made with the Waqf Amendment Bill that was brought in Parliament a few weeks ago, all those changes remain. Takeaway number 5, the government gets 7 days to file a reply. After those 7 days, then you'll have the Supreme Court taking up this issue. Till then, the interim order stays. So there will be no changes till the government replies. No stay on the Waqf law, but at the same time, no action also that the government can take. The next 7 days, nothing really will move in this particular act with regards to a crackdown on properties by the government or, for that matter, a stay on the law. I'd like to bring in our legal editor, Nalini Sharma, to explain for us really the repercussions of this interim order that's come in from the Supreme Court. Nalini, there are mixed opinions that are coming in, mixed reactions coming in to this order. Some deeming it a setback to the centre. Others saying not really because there's no stay on the Waqf law. How do you read what happened in court today?
Well, Akshita, whatever's happened before the Supreme Court three-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice of India over the course of the past 2 days, that's yesterday and today, has been really significant when it comes to this particular Waqf law and the opposition that was given to this law once it was enacted. Most importantly, Akshita, the Supreme Court's acted with alacrity. That means that soon after the petitions were filed, they were listed for hearing, and soon after they were listed for hearing, an interim order was pronounced after hearing the preliminary arguments. In case the Supreme Court had kept the matter pending for a long time, then it would have effectively become infructuous the fact that the petitioners were asking for a stay, an interim stay on the law till the time that the Supreme Court's hearing the matter. So it comes in as a big relief to the petitioners that the Supreme Court has found some prima facie ground on the basis of the arguments that were made by the petitioners yesterday and decided that some steps need to be taken, some intervention needs to be done so that the centre holds its hands when it comes to enacting certain provisions of this contentious act that the petitioners have been raising time and again. Like you correctly pointed out, the concept of Waqf by user, the concept of inclusion of non-Muslims into the Waqf boards and Waqf councils have been some of the major issues regarding the petitioners that have even been brought up before the Supreme Court, on which some very pointed questions were asked to the centre. Today, even though it was the Solicitor General who'd given his assurance to the Supreme Court that the government will hold its hands on all of these contentious provisions, there'll be no development that'll be done so that there's no drastic change on the ground and the status quo will more or less be maintained. It is important to clarify that if it wasn't for the Supreme Court's intervention, the government would have never come to this discussion table where they would have even agreed to take such a step to hold their hands at least for some time. So even though it's only till the 5th of May and the further hearing is going to happen on the 5th of May, which is when we are going to know how the case will proceed further. But until then, it's going to be a huge sigh of relief to all the petitioners and all the stakeholders who were opposing this contentious law, stating that it's against the rights of the Muslim minorities and it's taking away their religious freedom under Article 26.
So there's no stay effectively on the law, but several provisions, the most contentious ones which were challenged by these petitions, they've essentially been stayed in a way with the Supreme Court saying that, look, there can be no changes, no scrutiny, none of that. Thanks very much, Nalini, for joining us with those details. One term that you very often hear every time this issue of Waqf comes up, and it's one of the biggest bones of contention, is the term Waqf by user. What exactly does this mean? Why is it one of the biggest clash points? So first, there's a distinction. Let's change that up for you and talk about really what Waqf by user is. It's defined by Islamic fiqh law. By Islamic law, it's property that an individual voluntarily offers to the Waqf board for charitable or religious purposes. But in some countries, like India, that definition varies. Property that was not formally declared as Waqf but has been used over time for religious or charitable purposes, and therefore the Waqf board assumes it to be Waqf. So a plot of land that's been used as a mosque for decades, for example, even though it was never legally transferred as Waqf, is recorded as Waqf by user or Waqf by use. Essentially the board using that property, so it becomes Waqf property. This concept was legally recognized through court rulings and also the Waqf Amendment Act of 2013. So what did the Supreme Court say on this? Well, Waqfs, including Waqf by user, registered or declared by notification, are not to be denotified. I'll come to this in just a bit. The characters are not to be changed. Essentially, there will be no denotification. What does that mean? And I'll start off from the very beginning of this graphic. A stay on notification is essentially the disputed Waqf land cannot be touched. The government can't take land claimed by Waqf even if it is disputed. That's important. Even disputed land at this point cannot be touched. Nothing can change. Status quo essentially is what has been decided. And that's what we mean by denotification and the fact that there's a stay on it. No action can be taken by the government, at least for the next 7 days. And then you'll have the next hearing coming up in the Supreme Court. Let's talk about really the debate over the Waqf law, the concerns that have been raised and what the Supreme Court has had to say on these. Now, the petitioners raised a number of issues. One of the issues, can heritage sites be declared as Waqf. Now, petitioners had one aspect to this. They said that this kind of a reform affects historic masjids like Jama Masjid, for which, because it was in fact centuries ago declared as Muslim property, as Islamic property, there are no papers to back it. So it's not registered property. Does that mean there'll be a crackdown on Jama Masjid? The Supreme Court said very clearly that can't be the case. Monuments are already protected. Such clauses will not apply in this case. Another issue. Does the law violate personal inheritance rights? With regards to inheritance, can the government now intervene, saying nothing doing? Private individuals cannot go ahead and hand over property. So the petitioners allege that this is interference in Muslim inheritance practices and in our religious law. So the Supreme Court on this also said very clearly that the Parliament can make laws for all, not just for Muslims, but also for Hindus as well, which we've seen previously on this. Now, can Waqf exist without formal documentation? And this is something that the government has spoken about, saying that Waqf by user has been exploited, has been used, and that's why there's a need to ensure that that doesn't happen. Petitioners, however, have said that oral or user-based Waqf may be excluded from these terms and conditions. The Supreme Court said that there must be legitimacy, because otherwise there could be bogus claims, which is what the government also has maintained. So the Supreme Court has said that this kind of a deed ensures legitimacy and transparency. Now, can land owned by scheduled tribes be Waqf? One of the other issues that came up in the top court. Now, the petitioners allege that this particular clause is exclusionary when you talk of scheduled tribes. Now, the Supreme Court has said that as far as tribal laws go, there's no question of discrimination or it being particularly targeted. It's protected by other laws nationwide as well. So these are some of the issues that the Supreme Court has ironed out very clearly their stand on. So all of these issues that the petitioners brought up, the Supreme Court said there's no reason to worry. Let's get you some of the reactions coming in.
The important thing to note is, which is very important, that this order is an order by consent of the Solicitor General. It is based upon the voluntary assurance given by the Solicitor General that we will not take certain decisions. So the idea is to make it clear the import of the Supreme Court's interim order. It is only an order to secure a fuller hearing on the next date of hearing after the Government of India has filed its detailed response.
This is not reform. It is retaliation in the guise of reform. It is retaliation meticulously scripted, strategically timed, and constitutionally questionable. The Waqf Amendment Act is not an exercise in efficiency as it pretends to be. It is an exercise in erasure. Behind the bland language of governance lies the bold ambition of control. Religious autonomy is being reduced to state-administered protocol, and community rights are being redrawn with bureaucratic pens. Let us be clear, this is not about improving institutions. This is about infiltrating them, controlling them, and closing them.
The stand taken by the India Alliance and especially Congress Party has been totally justified by the preliminary observation of the Supreme Court. The speakers of India Alliance during the debate on Waqf Bill clearly emphasized the violation of Article 26 through this bill. Through the preliminary observation clearly stated that the concerns raised by the parliamentarians of India Alliance was relevant.
The Supreme Court has said that the Central Waqf Council and the State Waqf Board will not be constituted. Waqf by user cannot be deleted. Now, there are other provisions also which we as a party have come to the Honorable Supreme Court that calling it unconstitutional. Now, whenever it will be heard, our counsel, Mr. Nizam Pasha, on behalf of me, will be arguing it.
आज जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आदेश दिया इंटरिम स्टे जो दिया वो बल्कि उससे भी अच्छा था जो कल स्टे करने जा रहे थे, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ने अंडरटेकिंग दिया, कमिटमेंट दिया है कि अब वक्त में किसी भी तरीके से कोई परिवर्तन नहीं होगा, न उसके टाइटल में होगा, न उसकी ज़मीन को लिया जाएगा, न ही बोर्ड में कोई नियुक्ति होगी। तो एक तरह से हमारी विन विन सिचुएशन है, एक हमारी अधूरी जीत हम मान सकते हैं। आगे क्या होता है नहीं समझ में नहीं कहा जा सकता, लेकिन फिलहाल के लिए एक राहत है, काफ़ी बड़ी राहत है।
हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट का तमाम जजेस का तहे दिल से शुक्रगुजार हैं कि आज हमें यहाँ इंसाफ मिला। हम तमाम वकीलों का, जो वकील भी पेश हुए, हमारे वकील और तमाम सीनियर वकील, वो सारे वकील पेश हुए, उन तमाम वकीलों का हम शुक्रगुजार हैं और हमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट से यही उम्मीद थी।
And even as you're seeing the debate over Waqf rage on, a delegation of the Dawoodi Bohra community of Muslims has met with Prime Minister Modi today to thank him for the Waqf Amendment Act for bringing in the reform. This community, the Dawoodi Bohra community, has repeatedly spoken in favor of the act, saying that poorer sections of Muslims have been struggling because their property has been grabbed by the Waqf boards and they haven't received any benefits. This is the message with which they also met the Prime Minister today in Delhi, saying that this was a long pending demand of the community and so welcomed the Waqf Amendment Act also being brought in by the government at a time when you've got a huge divide over this very reform, with the Supreme Court also hearing all of these petitions, 73 petitions, both for and against this law. You've got now this community meeting with Prime Minister Modi, saying thank you for bringing in the Waqf Amendment Act. This is the Dawoodi Bohra community. All right, let's move on to other stories. And a big news break coming in from Tamil Nadu. Amid questions and speculation over what's really happening between the AIADMK and the BJP, you've got another statement that's come in from the AIADMK. Days after the alliance firmed up, the AIADMK has reiterated that there's no question of a coalition government. So the AIADMK is setting the record straight, that it's a yes to an alliance, no to a coalition government. And you've got the AIADMK's Thambi Durai, a senior leader of the party, saying Tamil Nadu never had a coalition government, so there's no question of it happening now. The indication from the AIADMK is that the alliance is for the elections. But post-elections, if the alliance comes to power, it will be an AIADMK-led government. No question of an AIADMK plus BJP government.
திமுக 93 சீட்டு தான் அவருக்கு மெஜாரிட்டி கிடைக்கல. அப்படி என்ன சொன்னார் கருணாநிதி அவர்கள்? கூட்டணி வைத்தால் நான் முதலமைச்சர் பதவி வைக்க மாட்டேன். 2026 எடப்பாடி பழனிசாமி தனியாகத்தான் ஆட்சி அமைப்பை பார்த்தவரை கூட்டணி என்பதற்கு இடமே கிடையாது. தமிழகத்தில் இதுவரை கூட்டணி ஆட்சி வந்ததும் கிடையாது.
That's the statement that's come in from an AIADMK leader there, who said that Tamil Nadu has never seen a coalition government and they never will, essentially indicating that in one of the terms and conditions laid out by APS for this alliance is that there's no question of a coalition government. But at the same time, there will be questions about whether the BJP also is on board with this. Let's get you our next report about really what this means for the AIADMK-BJP alliance, who are looking to come to power in 2026. They're teaming up, of course, to take on the ruling DMK. The alliance is taking shape, but there's mixed signals from the AIADMK, raising one key question of who's really in charge of the NDA.
The AIADMK and BJP are back together after contesting the 2024 Lok Sabha polls separately and losing all 39 seats to the DMK-led front. The two parties are realigning to avoid splitting anti-DMK votes. But even before the alliance could take off, AIADMK chief Edappadi Palaniswamy has rocked the boat.
கூட்டணி அரசுன்னு சொல்லவே இல்லை. நீங்க தப்பா புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு ஏதோ அனைத்து இந்திய அண்ணா திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகம் பாரதிய ஜனதா கூட்டணி ஆட்சி அமைக்கும். அப்படிலாம் அவர் சொல்லவே இல்லை. திருப்பியும் சொன்னார். டெல்லிக்கு மாண்புமிகு பிரதமர் மோடி அவர்கள் தமிழ்நாட்டுக்கு என்னுடைய பெயரை சொல்லி சொன்னார்.
Just a week ago, while sharing the dais with EPS, Amit Shah had claimed the two would form the state government together, but sources suggest talks on cabinet sharing will happen only after a win.
ADMK और भाजपा का ये जो अलायंस का मतलब मिलके राज्य यहाँ पे बनाएंगे क्या पूछ रहे हैं?
जी, हम साथ में सरकार बनाएंगे. हम चुनाव एडापाडी जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ेंगे.
अगर जीतेंगे तो भाजपा के जो MLA ना मंत्री बनेंगे क्या पूछ रहे हैं?
वो हम जीतने के बाद तय करेंगे. मैं कोई कंफ्यूजन छोड़ना नहीं चाहता. DMK के लिए हम एडापाडी जी के नेतृत्व में चुनाव लड़ेंगे.
Had they joined forces in 2024, the NDA might have won up to 13 seats. While AIADMK is strong in rural areas, the BJP brings urban and youth support. Together, they hope to challenge the DMK's dominance. With Stalin's solid alliance and superstar Vijay's entry shaking things up, 2026 Assembly poll is shaping up to be a fierce contest. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let's bring in Anaga Keshav for more details. Anaga, AIADMK reiterating their stand that yes to an alliance, no to a coalition. Having said that, is this one of the terms and conditions that was clearly laid out by the AIADMK even before the alliance shaped up? What are you picking up from your sources in the BJP? Are they okay with this kind of an announcement by the AIADMK?
Well, in fact, Akshita, when it comes to Tamil Nadu, it has never had a coalition government. It has either been DMK or been ADMK in power, but never a coalition. Even in the current dispensation, where the DMK is in alliance with Congress, we have Congress MLAs, but no cabinet berth sharing. That has been the case with Tamil Nadu so far. But now, with ADMK and BJP joining hands, in fact, in that press conference when Amit Shah a part of, he very clearly said that ADMK and BJP will together form the government, implying that the BJP is maybe expecting their role to also be there when it comes to cabinet berth sharing. But Edappadi Palaniswamy says that while ADMK and BJP will together form the government, when it comes to power sharing or when it comes to dividing the cabinet berth, it's only going to be me who is leading it, which is Edappadi Palaniswamy, and it's only going to be ADMK, is what in fact Edappadi Palaniswamy is now implying. So clearly it looks like the BJP and the ADMK do have some things to sort out. But remember, the reason why EPS also said this could be because of the fact that Tamil Nadu has never had a coalition government before, and by saying that this time if ADMK wins, it's going to be in coalition with BJP, might cost for ADMK politically. So that could also be one of the main reasons why Edappadi Palaniswamy said that it's only going to it's only going to be ADMK that's going to be leading, it's going to be forming the government.
All right, Anaga, I'll request you to stay with me. But as in fact we decode what really this alliance will mean in Tamil Nadu, I want you to take a look at a couple of data figures that we've put together on what really are the chances of the AIADMK coming back to power in Tamil Nadu. Is it really a spent force? Not really. Just take a look at these figures. Now, we've demarcated very strong, moderate and weak. How have we done this? Well, very strong seats are those won by each of the parties 3 out of 3 times. That is in 2011, 2016 and 2021. So if you look at it, actually the AIADMK is very strong in 38 seats, and that's more than actually the DMK and the Congress at 15. Strong seat we've calculated based on, again, 2011, 2016, 2021, out of the 3 elections, if they won twice, out of the 3 times. So in that case too, the AIADMK has 81 such seats, whereas the DMK has 62, and this is DMK plus Congress, mind you. Moderate, 1 out of 3 wins. Essentially, if 3 assembly elections were held in some seats and they won once out of the 3 times, That's when we've deemed them as moderate. That's 77 seats. And here's where the DMK actually has the strongest numbers at 91. And whereas at weak, which is essentially a seat never won by a party, including seats not contested, you've got essentially 66, the DMK, versus 38, the AIADMK. They'll be very happy with that figure. There's potential essentially for the AIADMK. What this indicates, especially when you look at those 38 very, very strong seats, is that they've got strongholds and they've got a very faithful, loyal voter-based voter bank which they can make the most of. Now let's take a look also at some other numbers and some other data figures that we have for you with regards to really how the AIADMK has performed. You look at the seat share, and we've done a comparative analysis from 2001 right up to 2021 as well. So you look at those figures, you see, of course, that there is a huge seesaw in how the AIADMK has performed. But are they down and out? Absolutely not. You see that, of course, they surged in 2011 under Jayalalitha. In 2016 at 136, came down to 66 in 2021. Now 133 is where the DMK reached. So essentially it's almost like a flip from 2016 to 2021 here. But if you look at also the vote share and you compare how the AIADMK fared against the DMK, you will still see that it's a close battle. Doesn't necessarily translate to seats, but if you look at really the vote share, it's not as alarming as some would show you that the AIADMK is completely a decimated, spent force in Tamil Nadu. Because you look at essentially 2021, that particular figure here, AIADMK at 33%, the DMK at 38%. Just a 5% difference between the two parties. It doesn't obviously translate to seats when you had essentially the DMK managing very, very smoothly to get those numbers. But you see how the AIADMK actually rose, actually in fact went down from 41%, rose from 2011 to 2016 and then came down to 2021. And you look at that number, obviously because Jayalalitha was no longer there, Edapadi was leading the party, but it's still giving a fight to the DMK, which is what is important to highlight here. Now, we're also doing a comparative analysis. What if there was an alliance between the BJP and the AIADMK in the 2024 general elections? Here's first a look at the numbers in 2024. This is what it looked like for the BJP, the AIADMK and the DMK. Now, if there was an alliance in 2024, how would those numbers actually have changed up? You see 10 there for AIADMK plus, that would have gone up to 84. And whereas you look at the DMK at 150 versus 26 and 13. This is the 2024 general elections. What you see there in blue is essentially in the assembly seats trends based on the results in 2024. These are parliamentary seats which we broke into assembly segments to explain what would happen if there was an alliance that had happened in 2024 for the general elections, and you saw an assembly election then too. It's interesting to see what the numbers were like, and while you still had the DMK in the lead, it would have been a much closer battle. Convert that also to vote share and look at what it looked like 2024, what the actual results were versus what would have happened if there was an alliance. Now let's show you those numbers as well. So the DMK at this point, we all know, of course, look at those numbers there. They had 47% in 2024. If there was an alliance, the AIADMK plus the BJP could have got 41% of the vote share. And you then compare the two numbers, so 47% versus 41%, just about a 6% difference. Whereas in reality, what happened was there was no alliance, so that's broken up further. AIADMK at 23%, BJP at 18%. So then there's a very big difference between the DMK and these parties, which is why experts say that it just makes sense for both parties, the AIADMK and the BJP, that they come together, bring forces together nationally and regionally in the state, and so they can take on the DMK. They're trying to create a narrative of DMK versus the rest. They'll want these numbers to hold good in the 2026 elections and perhaps even build on this as well. All right, big breaking news that's coming in right now. In trouble for Tamil Nadu Minister Ponmudi, who is a close aide of Chief Minister Stalin. The Madras High Court has now said that an FIR should be filed against the minister for his extremely lewd, vulgar, below-the-belt remarks that he'd made last week. He'd compared revered Hindu symbols to sex positions, and it triggered huge outrage. What did the DMK do? They removed him from his post in the party as Deputy General Secretary, and that was about it. He remains a minister in the Stalin cabinet. There was no action taken against him and no police action as well. And now the Madras High Court very clearly saying that he must face an FIR. They've given a deadline to the police, saying go ahead and file an FIR against him. The Madras High Court judge also in very, very strong remarks has said if there's a hate speech made by someone, it doesn't matter who that person is, take action the same way you would if he was a member of the opposition. But I want you to listen first to what Ponmudi said, for now with which he will face action.
நீ பார்த்து நீங்கள் சைவமா வைணவமா அப்படின்னு கேட்குது. அவனுக்கு ஒன்றும் புரியல. அவன் பணம் எவ்வளோ 5 கொடு 10 கொடுன்னு கேட்டான்னா ரைட்டு. என்னடா இங்கே வந்திருக்கிறோம் நாம ஒரு விலை மாதிரி வீட்டுக்கு நம்மளை வந்து சைவமா வைணவமான்னு கேட்குறாங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டான். அந்த அம்மா சொல்லிச்சான், இன்னும் ஒன்றும் புரியலையே அப்படின்ட்டான். ஒன்றும் இல்லை, சைவம்னா இப்படி வைணவம்னா இப்படின்னுச்சான். ஒன்றும் புரியல. சைவம்னா இப்படி வைணவம்னா இப்படி. ஒன்றும் புரியல. என்னவா சொல்ற, இதுன்னா அது தெய்வம் இது தானே, அதில் என்ன இருக்கு அப்படின்னா, இல்லை சைவம்னா படுத்துக்கிறது, வைணவம்னா நின்னுங்கிறது.
Minister from the DMK government has the audacity to go up on stage and speak utter gross nonsense in front of hundreds of non-believers, especially belonging to the Periyarist movements. And, you know, he also had a laugh about his own gross comments. The DMK has sacked him from his party post, but that's just purely an eyewash. If the DMK has any spine, they should kick him out of the ministry. They should throw him out from the party itself. And for hurting the sentiments of crores of believers, this man should be put behind bars.
Anaga Keshav is joining us with more details on this. Anaga, a clear deadline being given by the Madras High Court saying go ahead and file an FIR against him, or we will take suo motu cognizance and ensure there's action against Minister Ponmudi. The reality is that this man is still a minister despite making the kind of comments that he did. This step now by the Madras High Court, will it ensure now pressure on the DMK to also remove him as a minister?
Well, of course, Akshita, in fact, pressure is mounting on the DMK to take sufficient action against Minister Ponmudi. In fact, there is also a PIL that's filed at the Madras High Court requesting for Ponmudi's disqualification for his derogatory statements against Shaivites, Vaishnavites and women in general. There is a PIL that's being registered and it will be heard in the upcoming days. Meanwhile, the Madras High Court has directed Tamil Nadu Police to file an FIR against Minister Ponmudi, and if failing to do so before April 23rd, the High Court will take suo motu cognizance of this case. So really the Madras High Court has taken the last straw and given a warning to the Tamil Nadu Police, stating that if you don't file an FIR, because it's been 5 days now, April 11th was the day when Ponmudi made that statement. The next day, 12th, was the when issue came out. It's been 5 days now. It's April 17th, and why no FIR against Ponmudi for the kind of vulgar comments? Was it because he's a minister? Is it because he's from the current ruling dispensation? What's the reason? That's the kind of cracking of whip that Madras High Court has taken up. In fact, they've also gone a step further and have stated that the law is the same for every single person in this country, whether you are in power or not. When the DMK can file cases against other people from the opposition or even common citizens, why is it that members from their own party are being let go, is what justice from the Madras High Court has also questioned. Thereby cracking the whip on the government, the High Court has directed for an FIR to immediately be registered, and if failing to do so, it will take suo motu cognizance.
So an FIR will have to be filed. It will be supremely brazen if the DMK, even at this point, doesn't act against Minister Ponmudi. Sure, they've removed him from a position of power in the party, but simply not enough. And what kind of a message are you sending across if this minister, after making these kind of crass, vulgar remarks, is a part of the cabinet, the core team of the Stalin government? We'll see what really happens and whether the government finally goes ahead and cracks the whip on Ponmudi. Thanks very much, Anaga, for joining us with those details. Another story from Tamil Nadu that came in today is of the decoration that was made on the Kalaignar Memorial today. There was a visit by Minister Shekhar Babu, who is the endowments minister in the state. He visited this particular memorial, the Kalaignar Memorial, an iconic site along the Marina Beach. And so how did they decorate it? They put up the temple Gopuram, which is the entrance of temples in the south. I'm sure you've recognized that particular symbol that's placed. And then you have a decoration all across. The BJP's cried foul over this, saying that this is, again, disrespectful to Hindus, because at a burial site, this is where Kalaignar Karunanidhi was laid to rest. So at a burial site, you've put the image of a temple. But mind you, what also you have to note here, and as we show you that symbol, this is also the logo of the Tamil Nadu government. The Gopuram is part of the logo of the Tamil Nadu government. You see that on top with the emblem as well. So while you have the BJP saying remove this kind of decoration, how is this okay? You've got the DMK, its ally, speaking out, saying we've done this repeatedly. This is a logo of the Tamil Nadu government, so there's no question of any sort of insult to any religion or community.
This is a properties government. They put the emblem. What is wrong?
Sir, BJP's rebuttal is that, but still, even though it is an emblem, it depicts a temple. So how is it okay to place on a memorial is what they're asking.
Memorial is like temple. What is the meaning of the memorial? Our God. Our God is sleeping there. Karunanidhi ji, they seeing the Tamil Nadu people like God. He did lot of revolution, lot of schemes, lot of welfares. He did for his period in the Tamil Nadu. The people seeing that God is sleeping, God is taking rest. This is symbol as the temple.
We are reporting from Kalaignar Karunanidhi's memorial here in Chennai. Remember, he was the former chief minister who passed away in the year 2018. And we are reporting from his memorial. And today, what you see over there, the temple Gopuram, the placement of this banner over here has sparked a row with BJP saying that this has hurt their sentiments. The BJP says that Kalaignar Karunanidhi was an atheist. He didn't really have faith in one particular religion. So how is it okay to place a Hindu temple Gopuram atop his memorial is what the BJP is asking, and is condemning the placement of the Gopuram banner over there. But it's also important to note that the Srivilliputturu Gopuram that you see over there is actually Tamil Nadu government's logo. It's their symbol. So that explains why the DMK government would have placed that particular banner over there. But the BJP says that placing this particular banner on the memorial of somebody who didn't have faith in Hindu religion is something that's, that goes against the principles of Hindu religion, and this must be removed is what the BJP is demanding. It's also important to note that the placement of this banner is of course temporary. It wasn't there, but today it has been placed. Why? Because the HNRC department, that's the endowment minister, is going to be raising issues pertaining to his department in the assembly, and it has been an age-old tradition for every single minister to come here and pay tributes before raising issues pertaining to their department in the assembly. So today we had Endowment Minister Shekhar Babu come here and pay floral tributes, and he also placed this particular temple Gopuram over here as a mark of respect. It has been an age-old tradition, but the BJP has sought exception and condemned the placement of this particular Gopuram, calling this as an anti-Hindu move by the DMK. However, the DMK has not responded on this matter and has till now maintained silence. With camera person Daniel and Aga Keshav reporting for India Today from Chennai.
Okay, let's move on here on Super 6 and get you that story from Meerut in Uttar Pradesh, where a man was found dead with a snake discovered under his body. Initial reports suggested that he died from a snake bite, but then details emerged of how this was a chilling conspiracy. The real killer was none other than his wife. What was believed to be a snake attack was actually a carefully orchestrated plot to murder her husband. What exactly happened? How did she plan this? And how did she claim it was actually a snake attack that had killed him? More in our next report.
A couple of days ago, Amit was found dead in Meerut, Uttar Pradesh, and a snake was recovered from under his body. It was reported that Amit died of snake bites. But now there is a twist in the tale.
The local police have now unearthed the real conspiracy. Amit did not die of snake venom, but he was killed by his wife, Ravita. It was she who hatched the poisonous plot. Ravita was allegedly having an extramarital affair and plotted to kill her husband. She strangled Amit and placed a snake under his body, so his death appears to be from a snake bite.
अमित कुमार नामक व्यक्ति का 2 दिन पूर्व मृत अवस्था में वो पड़े थे, उनका पोस्टमार्टम करवाया गया। आरंभ में उनके साथ बगल में सांप भी था, तो आरंभ में आरोप लगाया गया था कि सांप सर्पदंश से ये मृत्यु हुई होगी। आज पोस्टमार्टम रिपोर्ट आई है, उसमें थ्रॉटलिंग आया है।
It was the autopsy that revealed the true extent of horror. Amit was rushed to the hospital on suspicion of being poisoned by the snake. The hospital declared him brought dead. Post-mortem was then ordered, which revealed that Amit died of strangulation, not snake bite. Both the accused, Amit's wife Ravita and her friend Amardeep, have now been arrested.
तो ये आइडिया कैसे आया?
आइडिया ये नेता रविता ने बताया। क्या क्या कहा रविता ने? तुम
क्या क्या कहा?
कहा कि मुझे मार पीट रहा है, आप ही बहुत वो कर रहा है।
का आइडिया जो है क्या नाम रविता का था, तुम्हारा था?
This is the second sensational murder that has stunned Meerut. First, it was Muskan, who chopped up her husband's body and stuffed it in a blue drum. Now, Ravita and a snake bite conspiracy. Bureau Report, India Today.
It just gets weirder and weirder, the kind of conspiracy and planning that goes into some of these murders.